Hi, I'm Laura, and this video is an exploration of human evolution and the Out of Africa theory from the perspective of a study abroad student. Since you're watching, you have at least some interest in human evolution, and I hope you learn something new and fascinating here. Perhaps you'll discover something that challenges your previous ideas. Either way, enjoy. Our study abroad class set out on a globe-trotting adventure to Tanzania, Africa in the spring of 2018 to discover for ourselves more about human evolution. Our journey towards discovery and understanding was challenging at times. The journey began with a question: who are we and where do we come from? We have been asking this age-old question since the moment we became self-aware. Over time, the answer to this profound question has been argued from theological and scientific perspectives, two of my most passionate areas of interest. We'll take a look at some of the early ideas about human evolution, the evidence behind human evolution, including fossils and DNA, and we'll take a look at evolutionary processes, including environmental pressures and the role that environment plays in evolution. In 1871, naturalist Charles Darwin predicted that our ancestors evolved out of Africa when he authored his book, The Descent of Man, and Selection in Relation to Sex. Due to conservative religious views of the time, Darwin's predictions were ignored until almost a century later, when paleontologists began uncovering irrefutable fossil evidence. During our journey throughout Tanzania, we discovered that fossil evidence of the earliest hominids have only been found in Africa, supporting Darwin's predictions. We'll take a look at molecular science. This is a recent technological advancement that aids in our understanding of the processes that have occurred over millions of years. But first, we'll take a look at fossils. These are very rare and often severely damaged. Dating techniques applied to carbon, argon, potassium, and other elements can be applied to fossil remains to help us date these fossils. These are some of the genus and their emergence on the scene and then their extinction. First we have Ardipithecus. This was probably mostly tree-dwelling hominid. And then we have Australopithecus, arriving on the scene about 4 million years ago. We'll begin there. Australopithecus had a relative brain size of about 450 cubic centimeters. This is judged by the cranial capacity within the skull. This hominid had a plant-based diet, may have used some very crude stone tools. We think it lacked language due to a very underdeveloped larynx. In addition to bones, we also have fossilized footprints from 3 million years ago found in Laetoli. This indicates that Australopithecus was probably the first true bipedal hominid. A side-by-side comparison of modern human footprints, our fossilized Australopithecus afarensis footprints, and ape footprints indicates the importance of the foot morphology and the ability to walk upright. The forward-facing toe is crucial. Now we'll look at Paranthropus. Paranthropus came on the scene about 2.7 million years ago. As you can see, there is some overlap between Paranthropus and Australopithecus, as there is between Ardipithecus and Australopithecus. Paranthropus had a larger brain, about 515 cubic centimeters was the average. The skull was much larger, and it had a sagittal crest which supported powerful muscles that manipulated the lower jaw. As you can see, the lower jaw is massive, and there are these enormous molars which were used for grinding up grasses and leaves. Next, we'll move on to the genus Homo, which arrived on the scene about 2.4 million years ago and continues today. As you can see, the brain size is continually growing. There's a rapid increase in the brain size over time, from 650 to 1400 cubic centimeters. They are making tools, and their diet begins to include meat. Here are some of the ancient creatures that Homo would have been eating, and some of their modern equivalents that you can see in the region today. We're going to take a closer look at the genus Homo by looking at 3 different species, in particular Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and Homo sapiens. Homo habilis had a brain size of about 650 cubic centimeters. They were making tools and they were butchering meat. They also began to develop a modern arch in their foot. Homo erectus, the brain size is increasing. It's now 800 to 900 cubic centimeters. Their tool-making abilities have improved, and there's evidence of even skinning carcasses. They may have used the skins for carrying things or even for wearing. We think that they were migrating and may have even begun to harness fire. Next, we have Homo sapiens. Incredible leap in the size of the brain to now 1400 cubic centimeters. We begin to see identity and culture emerging. There were some rapid advancements, such as a dramatic improvement in their tool-making abilities, advanced hunting and butchering techniques. About 100,000 years ago, we begin to see symbolism with evidence of ochre markings of symbols on cave walls. About 50,000 years ago, we begin to see the emergence of a cultural identity with jewelry and woodworking. They are also developing tools from bone. They are treating skulls with ritualistic treatment, and their diets are much more diverse, and they include eggs and fish and birds where previous species had not. Now we'll take a look at molecular science and the role that these new technological advancements play in our understanding. Comparative DNA analysis helps to fill in our gaps in our understanding. Human cells have different organelles. In the nucleus, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. This makes up our DNA. And we have mitochondria, which is the energy storehouse, if you will, and it has its own unique mitochondrial DNA. We can trace back this mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down from mothers to their offspring, back to 135,000 years ago. We also have sex chromosomes. 22 of our chromosomes contained in our nucleus are autosomal. The 23rd determines sex. It can either be X or Y. Y for males, X for females. These sex chromosomes are determined by the father, and the DNA of the Y chromosome can be traced back from sons to fathers, to their fathers' fathers, and beyond. We can date that back 70,000 years. Evolution results from pressures in the environment. The environment is ever changing, sometimes slowly, sometimes rapidly, and new innovations, which are better suited to a particular change in the environment, can give rise to new characteristics. About 7 million years ago, the climate in Africa shifted. It became colder, more arid, and there were greater fluctuations in temperature. This change caused changes in the landscape. Lush forests suddenly became wooded grasslands with wide open expanses. Tree-dwelling creatures needed to adjust to the receding habitat by adapting to the new environment. These environmental pressures gave rise to bipedalism. In addition, the landscape likely changed dramatically from region to region as it does today, causing increased pressure for adaptability. Africa is also a very harsh environment with many threats, including predators, such as big cats. Don't try this at home, folks. We can easily predict that the threats to our ancestors in ancient Africa were just as formidable as today, if not more so. With so much change and challenge in the environment, random genetic mutations occasionally produced new characteristics. These new, sometimes favorable characteristics gave some individuals an advantage over others. These individuals survived and passed on the new characteristics. For example, changes in the structure of the knee and pelvis of our earliest ancestors were critical for enhancing their ability to walk upright efficiently. Obviously, there were advantages to bipedalism. Now there's hands-free locomotion and a much better vantage point for spotting predators in grasslands. In the most recent 1 million years, more than one species lived in the same place and time and interbred. This resulted in a mosaic of modern characteristics appearing in various species over time. Our group began studying human evolution, expecting clear answers that tell a linear story. Instead, we found that our history is winding and reconnecting like branching streams converging at one final destination. So we've looked at the early ideas about human evolution, the evidence supporting human evolution, and the evolutionary process. We now have a better understanding of who we are and where we came from. All of mankind, including you and I, are Homo sapiens who originated in Africa millions of years ago. With a better understanding of the evolutionary processes involved in the development of who we are, perhaps science and theology can come to a place of compromise in the argument over human evolution. We hope that you now have some answers to your own questions. For more in-depth information, check out the references listed at the end. Thanks for watching.